Hello and welcome to our session on frame adjustments, and we're going to look at a little bit how to adjust a frame. This one is sitting pretty level. I have one ear and one eyebrow that are a little off, and we'll look at some of that in just a moment. So I'm going to first begin by taking this frame out of adjustment and making it sit incorrectly on my head. As I put this on, you can see how that it is skewed in that direction. My pupils are not centered at this point, and we need to raise this side up to get my pupils centered. When you look at the side of the frame, and this is what I often do with opticians, is as we look at the side of the frame, you can see that one temple is kicked up more than the other, and one side has more panoscopic tilt than the other, and I'm going to look at the side of the frame and level that up. And the key here is, if this side on my eye is too low, I'm going to drop this back part down to raise that. Contrary, if this side is too high, I'm going to raise the back of this up to drop the front of that lens. But I have bent that to where these are now parallel with each other, and then it will go back to sitting the more normal way, which is with my one eyebrow that's a little off from the other, but my pupils are now centered. Then if the bottom of the frame is touching my cheeks in a plastic frame, that means there may be too much panoscopic tilt. How are we going to get rid of too much panoscopic tilt? Or if we look on the side, too much tilt in towards my cheekbones. How are we going to get rid of that? Well, we're going to raise both. If it's level, we're going to raise both of the rears, each one up. And we do that by grabbing and bending right here. And when we do that, that will decrease the angle right here, and that will decrease your panoscopic tilt and flatten that out, and thereby taking it away from my cheekbone. Conversely, if there's not enough panoscopic tilt, sometimes if they're having problems with a progressive, you're going to add some panoscopic tilt. And in that case, to add panoscopic tilt, you're going to bend these down and increase that angle with both temples. So we're going to bring them both down together, increase that angle. If we need to decrease it, we're going to bring both of them up in order to do that. Now, behind the ears, a number of things behind the ears, and we'll spend a lot of time here. You're going to look back there and you're going to follow that angle down, making that adjustment, and you're going to make kind of a smooth adjustment. You're not going to wrap it around like a cable and cause it to dig in at the bottom. You're just going to generally follow the back slope of the ear a little bit. Now there's a lot of mechanics that go on in this direction. A lot of different things. Now this is kind of a general adjustment. We see that there's a little bit of curve here. What that curve can do is act as a spring that holds those glasses on. So it's not all behind the ear holding it on. Some of it is the shape of the head that sucks that frame in like a spring. If you get rid of all of that curve, and I will show you, if you get rid of all of that curve and it's just a straight temple, that can cause a spring that works against you. It can push the glasses off the head. There's a little bit of curve here, just a little bit. It helps suck them in and stay on. Now, if there's too much curve, it will pull back on that bridge and begin to cause some discomfort here. Even though you may not have it tight behind the ear, having too much curve there will suck those glasses in and make them feel tighter and heavier than they are. Now, let's talk about how far they're in or out. This can cause several things too. If they're in too far, this can work as a spring against you, throwing the glasses out and wanting to push them off and wanting to make them slide down. Now, if you go too far the other way to where they're too loose here, if they're too loose, then it's going to feel heavy on the nose, and it's going to feel like it's all sitting on the nose and the ears, and the sides of your head aren't carrying any of the weight. That spring hinge can put enough tension on the side of your head where there are fewer nerves to help hold these glasses in place, thereby taking some of the weight off the nose and some of the weight off of the ears. But it's a fine balance, using that spring hinge in a way to help you hold the glasses on, hold the glasses up, without making it push the glasses off the face. And so I'm constantly kind of touching and feeling how much tension do we have on the sides that isn't dependent on this curve. I'm going to put that curve in place, but that's kind of a last line of defense. I want all of these elements working together to make a comfortable fit for that person, and the spring hinge really is an intricate part of that. Most patients feel like a frame without a spring hinge, even when it's properly adjusted, it tends to often feel heavy on the nose, even if it's a very good bridge fit. This is a pretty good bridge fit for me. If you can see, it follows the angle of my nose very well. Even with a good bridge fit, sometimes if there's no tension on the side of the frame, it will feel heavier. If you actually measure the weight of lenses, there's very little weight difference from one frame to another. But why do some feel very heavy? It's the adjustment. That's where that begins to feel heavy. So just some basic little tips and tricks on adjustment. Oftentimes also, one other area to consider, some people have an odd little bone structure that you need to adjust this temple tip around, and there's a temple tip adjustment for that odd bone structure. I happen to have that odd bone structure, so I'll try to show you that temple tip difference. It's adding just a little bit of swoop into that temple tip that makes that happen. You see the difference? This side is flat. This side has that swoop where the end misses that bone that's right behind my ear, right at the bottom. I swoop back out to miss that bone down there. And that's key for some people to feel comfortable, and key for their frames to sit on their face. So you see that little swoop on the one side and not on the other side. Again, these are just some very basic things that you can do for your patients. Also, with a plastic frame, it's hard to raise and lower that frame on their nose. Sometimes you're going to play with the panoscopic and retroscopic tilt. Sometimes a little retroscopic will drop that frame down. A little panoscopic will kind of raise up their reading area. And you can play with that a little bit. Again, with a metal frame, you're going to use the nose pads for some of that. You can move it up, you can move it out with the nose pads, but you're a little more limited in a plastic frame as far as making that particular adjustment. Thanks for watching this video. We'll be back with a few more tips.